Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to Culz Talks Pop Culture. I know we might have told you guys a different movie that we were going to talk about, and
Hold
we
hold
might.
on. We can still talk about that real quick because I
Yeah, I was
saw
going to
it.
say,
I can
I
give
was
you a
going to let.
quick. Let's cover it real fast.
All right, so David, why don't you
So
tell the viewers about the Freakier of Fridays?
yes, so Freakier Friday. I did see it and the other movie that we're doing, which you may already know what it is. But Freakier Friday was actually very solid. I was concerned going into it that it was basically just a cash grab, one of those like, oh, here's something we haven't done in a while. Let's make money off this. I actually, when I first saw the trailer, I was like, why is this not just a direct to Disney Plus kind of movie? Because that's really the vibes that I got. But I was pleasantly surprised. I think it was a decent movie. You don't even need to have seen the first one to enjoy this one. I think it helps. There's a lot of callbacks. There's a lot of little things that are awesome that you would enjoy more if you've seen the first one. And what I really like is they also did a lot of little references to some of Lindsay Lohan's bigger movies. So there's definitely some Easter eggs for things like Parent Trap, Mean Girls, stuff like that that's in there. Some actors that are in this that it was great. Casting was awesome. There's a lot of bigger names in this movie that aren't anywhere in the trailers that you have no idea. And you're just like, oh, I had no idea they were in this movie. Uh, but everybody did a great job. It's awesome to see Lindsay Lohan back doing well, more so, you know. Uh, and no, her and Jamie Lee Curtis, fantastic chemistry as always. They do a great job basically being teens in this movie because now it's four people swapping and it's the two older ones swapping with the two teenage girls. A lot of heart in this movie, very family focused, just like the first one. First one, you know, is very focused on the mother daughter relationship kind of thing. This one opens it up a little bit more. It brings in two younger daughters, and it's kind of about family as a whole, and you know, home is where your heart is kind of message at the end. But no, it was solid, great soundtracks, funny movie. Um, Honestly, I would give it probably a very strong seven, maybe even a low eight, which is really good from what I expected going in. I mean, I fully was like, this could be a four, but it was about double what I expected. So I think it was a success. I don't regret seeing it. And if you're looking for a fun movie this summer, it was high up there. It may be the best sequel movie of this summer if you're looking at it, because I don't think of Marvels as sequels necessarily. Um, Superman kind of started its own thing. Jurassic World, I kind of feel like is its own start of something. So I'm not, you know, anything besides a franchise. I think this may be the best sequel movie that I've seen this summer. So high marks all around. I don't think it's as good as the movie that we're about to discuss, but they're so different. It's hard to compare them. Very different. But if you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. Solid movie.
And there you go. There's our weekly episode of Just Cool's Talks Pop Culture. We'll see you next month. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
peace.
Yeah, so that, yeah, originally we were going to do Freaker Friday just because it was a short turnaround on some of the movies I think we could have talked about, i.e., Naked Gun. And then so we're like, I guess we'll do Freaker Friday. But a trailer that had popped up, at least for me during Fantastic Four, was Weapons. And I was like, oh, that looks kind of good. And then David mentioned it, and we were like, let's take a shot on it. And so we did. So we're going to be talking Weapons. David, when was your first introduction to this film at all?
Honestly, I think I remember a few months back there was some viral marketing they were kind of doing with influencers where they were sent like an alarm clock that went off at 2:17, and it was all very shrouded in mystery and everything. And I remember thinking like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then there was like kind of silence for a while, and then it got closer to it coming out. Like you said, I did see it in Fantastic Four. I think actually though, before even that trailer, I heard a whole story about how it was coming out in like a month or two, and that Jordan Peele desperately wanted this movie
Yeah, because there was a bidding
yeah,
war.
it was
Yeah.
a
He
bidding
fired his
war
whole team
for
because they
it.
lost out on it.
Yep, he fired all of them because they didn't because he told them get it at any cost, and they took it upon themselves to say, "Oh no, he doesn't want to spend that much," and let it go. And he was so upset that he fired them. I believe it went for $38 million for the script, which that's a pretty good chunk of change for a random movie pretty much, because this isn't really from like one of those huge well-known screenwriters or anything like that.
Yeah, this
Uh,
is only his second film because Barbarian, I
right.
think the other.
Yes, and so it wasn't like a massive thing, but just the fact, because I tend to like Jordan Peele's movies. I have some issues with them, but I think he at least has good taste in what makes an entertaining story or not, especially if it's this kind of thriller horror genre. So when I heard that he was like super into it, I it kind of piqued my interest a little bit more. And the trailers were interesting, but they didn't give a lot away, and I like that. I like when a trailer does just enough to make you interested and doesn't give away the story, because I think this movie actually benefits more if you don't really know anything going into it.
Yeah, and I think the trailers, if you've seen the trailer after like 20 minutes, you have no idea what's going on. So,
Yeah,
because
the
it
trailer
makes
really
no
was
sense at
cut
all.
from like, it was like, here's the premise and that's it.
Yeah.
So I did appreciate that.
Mhm. Yeah, and like you said, Peel was in a bidding war amongst a batch of people, and I
He
want
was
to
going up
say,
against like straight up studios, because I think WB are the ones who outbid him to get this.
yeah, whoever distributed it ended up getting it, but I think him and the director of this one had this like same agent or something.
I could see that, and that's probably how he knew about it in advance and was like, I want this.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, had he done it, I think it still would have been good. I did enjoy like Nope and Get Out. What was the other one? Us.
Us.
I wasn't the biggest fan of that one, but the other two I
I
think
mean,
were
all
solid.
right. Again, I like his stuff, but I got to say, I think Get Out has probably still been his best movie.
I
I
think
think
so
his
too.
first, because Us was okay. Nope, kind of lost me at the end. Like it was good up until that. So
Do you think it's similar vein as people have felt about like The Village, where it has like a cool premise and kind of goes off the rails at the very end?
kind of, but I feel like The Village was way more of a typical, shamalama ding dong twist kind of thing. And Nope, it was just subverting your expectations, kind of, but it was still pretty like they said what it was from the beginning, and that's just what it ended up being. Like, there wasn't really a twist. It was just a little anticlimactic, and it was like, oh, okay. And then the whole link. See, I don't like that he feels like he has to say something with all of his movies, and I know some
Mhm.
people love that. Like some people are all there for the allegories, for the all. Like, I don't necessarily need a message with my movie.
Well, there's
Um,
been a lot of people reading into this movie of allegories. I'm
I
sure we'll get
know, and I
into
know we
that.
talked
So
about
many
a little bit
people.
of that, but I enjoyed it just for surface level of a good movie, of what it was.
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, to that point, I think messages definitely have a place in cinema, but if it's all you do, I think you kind of overstay your welcome a little too quickly, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I
Yeah,
agree. Like I have no problem with the fact that there are movies that do it, and some of them do it fantastically.
absolutely.
But I don't need it in every movie I see. Like I don't need to go see a Marvel movie and be left thinking about, wow, that was such a good conversation about capitalism. Like no, I
Well,
don't
like
need that.
take Ghostbusters, a film we've talked about. It's about small business taking on big business. You ain't taking that away after you watch Ghostbusters.
No.
You think about ghosts and funny
I
antics.
mean, it as somebody who's in, the literary world and stuff, like I know people like to attribute so much to books, but sometimes the blue curtains in the window softly billowing really are just blue curtains, and they're not an allegory for how the main
Oh,
character feels loneliness from his, immigration from across. Like no, like sometimes that's not there.
yeah. Another good
Hey,
one
how did you know?
is yeah. So Gore Vidal did a film, Billy the Kid with Val Kilmer, and to not get the R rating, he didn't do squibs at the end when Billy gets killed
Hmm.
to not get the R rating, and so people took that as, well, he's just showing that he's like pure of heart, and he was like, yeah, no, I just didn't do squibs that day. So
So he just didn't want to put blood in it.
yeah, it wasn't like a message or anything. So guys, sometimes what you see is really all that it is. It's not like a deeper meaning or something.
Exactly. And again, people that are in it for that, that's fine. I understand. Just me personally, I don't need it with every single movie. Some movies it fits with and it's beautiful and I love it. Other ones, there's just no place for anything deeper than I wanted to see some shit explode.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one last thing I want to add too is like, or at least on my end, is who wants to have homework after watching a movie? I don't want to do hours of research to figure out plot, the deeper themes or whatever that is, because who really wants that? I would rather just have an actual good experience, which this movie did deliver. And I think it's just when people dig too deeply into something, they need to have another hobby besides just digging that this much out of very surface level stuff.
Like, yeah, like I've literally seen books at stores that are like the philosophy behind The Simpsons, and like
Or
I
like
get that
Jurassic
they
Park
do,
or Harry
yeah,
Potter.
like they do some satire in The Simpsons and stuff, but I don't think they're all keyed in on hardcore philosophical ideals every episode. Sometimes Homer just really wants a donut.
Yeah. Well, Grayson, when was your first introduction to this film?
I mean, it was pretty much, I saw like some viral TikToks and stuff, just kind of like advertising it. And I'm like, it's another artsy, horror movie. Because I saw Barbarians. Barbarians was good, but I'm like, Zach Krieger does good work, but it's going to be something that's going to be, deeper message, kind of heavy-handed with some of its delivery, but not, the worst thing I've seen. So I was like, not really, super into it, but I'm kind of glad that we checked this out because it was way better than I thought it was going to be.
I never saw Barbarian. I'm a little interested now after seeing this. Did you enjoy that? Was it pretty
Barbarian
good?
is really good. I would say it's very similar to this. I mean, it's not as heavy-handed as I'm making it sound, but it's definitely like the motifs are a little bit more
Obvious.
prominent, so where you can kind of notice it a little bit more. So it's not like, as subtle as this movie is, but it's still a good movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, I've heard
yeah.
It's pretty much it's very similar levels. I've heard
Absolutely,
like stylistically and such.
I mean, like the characters are all still very human in like the way they deliver their dialogue and the way they act and the way they make decisions. Just like in this movie, it's very, which I do want to say that it's refreshing to see how human like these characters act, and it's not just people following a script; they act like people.
Yeah, it feels like people that you're like, oh, I know somebody like that, or I could see this happening in a small town, like this character living there.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, on the topic of characters, Grayson, how did you feel about the fact that one of your favorite all-time, I'm just kidding, not your favorite actors, but an actor that we see a lot, Pedro Pascal, was originally going to be Josh Brolin's character? How do you think that character would have turned out without Brolin?
I think, honestly, having Brolin as a more grizzled, like, salt-of-the-earth guy did that character better than Pedro Pascal, because Pedro Pascal, I don't necessarily hate the guy, but I don't think that he needs to be in everything, and I think he's kind of getting overhyped right now. But I honestly think if he would have been in the role that Josh Brolin was, it would not nearly have been as good, in my opinion. Just because you kind of need that more just grizzled, salt-of-the-earth vibe to that guy, to be honest. A guy who lost his son, a guy who was working hard and trying to, provide for his family. I buy that more from Josh Brolin than I do from Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, I feel like I felt it with Josh Brolin. Like I could see more so like the marriage falling apart and he's focused on, I got to save my son. I'm going to do whatever it takes kind of thing. Whereas Pedro in that same role, it'd be softer, I guess would be the right term. Like, I feel like it'd be more of a, oh, I feel bad for this guy. Not, I want to see what this guy does to fix it. It was more of a, oh, this poor guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I do enjoy like watching Brolin movies anyways, but towards the end
I couldn't see him getting all pissed off at the teacher.
Oh, absolutely not. No way.
He would not be the yelling parent at a PTA thing.
He'd be very sympathetic, be like, guys, we need to understand she's going through a hard time too.
Yeah, like I could not believe him standing up screaming at her and her being like worried about him.
Confronting at the gas station.
No way, yeah.
Yeah, no, and with Brolin, like towards the end, I was like, I hope nothing happens to him. Like, I want him to have like a good outcome. And I know we're not going to spoil yet because we have some people watching. So if you haven't seen it, we'll kind of get through our basic thoughts and then go more in depth so you guys don't get spoiled. Grayson, while we're in our non-spoiler like discussion portion, what is just a topic or thing that you want to talk about?
So I'll hit my top three. First and foremost, the score in this movie, absolutely fantastic. Like when certain scenes happen, just the dread that builds with the technologic score and just like the deep, just like, I'll call them the Hans Zimmer whoms, like just the whoa type sound.
That like shake you to your core kind of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it reaches into your soul and makes you feel that dread. Yeah. was used beautifully. Like the score was fantastic. Like it hit every single mark. And then like I don't know why I loved this so much, but as the movie opens, when they do that crane shot around to show Juliet's face in like the very first PTA meeting after everybody disappears, leading me into my second point, the cinematography, beautiful. Just it was absolutely fluid. It caught the emotion. It was intimidating. It was fear building. It was. Here's what I'm going to say: the way that Zach Krieger and the cinematographer worked together, because I think they worked on Barbarians together. It's just so isolating in the situation where it makes you feel just as isolated from the character as they are from everybody else throughout this story. And it's so intense that I thought it was great. Like it got me sucked in minute one. I was in because it was like perfect. And then one last thing I want to say as well, especially with direction and just screen or story setup, the background acting, the use of background overall throughout the story was phenomenal. Like when Julia walks out of the class after she's been let go, you see, like people talking about her, like kind of pointing and just talking in her direction about her. Or when she walks into the liquor store and you see that chick chasing her, or just any of those other scenes where they use the entire scene as a visual medium to set up what's about to happen was like I loved it. It got me on board 100%. And it was probably some of the best cinema I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, the shot where it's just a one cut shot of following her from the front, and you see the one lady in the background and blurry, but you see she's getting
Yeah,
closer.
if you're not paying attention, you're not. Yeah,
yeah. And the whole time that scene was going on, I will get more into it, but I was like, yeah, these parents are like deranged. We'll get into spoilers over there, but David, what are some like talking points for you?
I agree with everything Grayson said. Definitely on point with the cinematography, the soundtrack. Like this was a very well put together movie. And honestly, I'm going to tell you right now, this is not usually like horror is not usually my genre. I enjoy them okay, but I feel like a lot of horror these days, it's more about jump scares and stupid stuff like that, as opposed to being solid stories. I prefer much more a scary story that has reasons to be scared, psychological thriller, stuff like that. And I think that's why I enjoyed this. It's much more of a thriller, I think, than a horror, if I had to classify it. I get why it had to be horror, which we can go into when we do spoilers. But I think my number one takeaway from this, besides the fact acting was fantastic, I do think all the casting was on point. Nobody was in any role that I was like, I think somebody could have done it better. Like, I don't really believe them as that. No. Even people that I've seen in other stuff as different people, they nailed it in this. They did a fantastic job. But my absolute favorite part of the movie, I think, is the way that it was told. The different viewpoints of characters and kind of going back and catching up and going a little further. They did such a seamless job of tying them together. And honestly, this overlaps with what Grayson was saying about background stuff. You can see something that's in the forefront of one story, but it was in the background maybe two characters ago of different scenes and things like that. And you're seeing that same exact thing play out, but from that different viewpoint. And in the background, you can see what was the main story before happening. Like when he's following her to the liquor store, like he's parked off on the side and you can see his truck in the background when she goes in. But then when it's his side of the story, you see her walking in and the guy talking to her, and all that. So I think they did a really good job of the way they filmed all of it to make it cohesively go together. And I really liked that it kind of kept with the mystery element where we kind of gathered different clues as it went. And we're like, oh, that's how that happened. It was because of this. Or, oh, that's going to be this piece, So they did a great job of tying it together, just like a mystery would be in the way you're picking up clues as you go, as almost like you were like interviewing, suspects and people, getting more of the story until you're able to finally piece it all together and see what happened. And then you see how it all comes together and ends.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, there's so much stuff. First off, like you said, the non-linear storytelling, when you do it right, it works so well. And
it's just so hard to get right.
Yeah, and like the logistics of like everything the guys have talked about as far as like the background and thinking about, okay, when we film it this way, we got to have the people there, and so we got to film it this way for here. Just amazing aspect there of filmmaking. Also, going kind of what David was saying, some of the characters I didn't even realize the actor it was because again I didn't see much of this. Like Alden Ehrenreich, Han Solo, when they
Yeah.
first showed him in Justine's portion, I was like, I think that's Solo, but I wasn't sure. When they did his portion, I was like, yeah, that's definitely him. But it wasn't as noticeable as like when he was in Cocaine Bear, where you're like, oh yeah, that's him. Like, I think every character or actor got into their character and just did a fantastic job. Cinematography was good. The color palette and color grading was really good because depending on what the scene was going for, if it was like more of the horror vibe, it had that color, or if it was going for like some comedy aspects, it was brighter and kind of more a joyful color. And so just a lot of attention to detail that I think film has been missing. And horror, I enjoy when it's done right, but it's just been so kind of lackluster lately. Like David was saying, it's more not
It's
even
cheap.
jump scares, it's the jump sounds.
Yeah.
Anymore.
It's just like, oh,
yeah,
loud music.
yeah. To the point, like when I want good horror, I've been reading like indie authors because they're actually taking the time to craft the story and make it like a slow, like scary thing where your mind starts like, okay, I'm kind of scared now. This one, not super horror, but definitely has some pretty good horror aspects, I think.
Absolutely.
I mean, not to be that guy that brings up the fact that Zach Krieger was part of the Whitest Kids You Know, but I think honestly, the argument that's been made by like Danny McBride doing the Halloween movies or anything else, it just shows
Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele. Yeah, I mean, it's just the timing. The timing is everything. The way you build a scene, the way you like, it's just like building a joke. You have to let the scene breathe, and then you wait until the right time to strike, and then it makes it memorable. Like we'll talk. Obviously, we'll talk more about it when we get to the spoilers, but just the way this movie just ebbs and flows. There's the timing is all like pitch perfect. It feels like with how they build up to everything. Everything does not reveal too much too early. It reveals it at the right amount of time. It's not like you're seeing everything, and then if you're paying too much attention, you're going to see everything. They let you put the story together as it happens and let you actually feel what goes on with these characters.
I
Which
mean,
I think
I will say,
yeah.
from doing stories and acting and stuff myself, I would firmly believe comedy is probably the hardest thing to do to get it right. And I think it does. You have to have those crucial things of being able to read the scene, what the audience is going to be thinking. You've got to have the timing down. Like timing is absolutely everything in comedy. So I think if you can master comedy, I think it's so much easier to step into these other genres and get it right because you have that background in mastering those different principles. Like you said, with, these guys are hilarious because they know what they're doing, but they're able to manipulate your emotions for the humor, but they can also do it for that fear, that thriller, whatever it is that you're looking for. So honestly, I think it's a great combination.
One thing else I do want to say is that Zach Krieger was named as the next director of the next Resident Evil franchise. After this movie, I am so on board because I think it's going to be fantastic.
Especially if he gets to do like a fresh reboot.
Absolutely.
That would be, let him take it from the beginning. It'd be great.
Yeah. I'm so stoked for that movie is all I want to say, because after this, I'm kind of just looking back. Like, I know we talked about it like in the group chat and stuff, but it's just like looking at the Whitest Kids You Know sketches, you don't think that this is where Zach Krieger is going to end up being one of the best horror directors and writers that's working in the business right now.
Well, yeah, you look back at Key and Peele and you're like, what?
Right.
But I mean, going back to Whitest Kids You Know, obviously Trevor passed away and the film opens up on the 7th. So I think that was the day he passed away. And so a lot of people have, going back to the allegory, have used this as maybe him kind of dealing with the loss, much like the characters. And maybe that's why he did so good at building those characters in particular.
I've seen a lot of those theories coming up like that, saying like the reason that it was so well crafted was this was him dealing with the tragedy of losing somebody so close and kind of working through those emotions in his own way and letting that, because like if you look at how everybody, I was watching like I think it was spoiler review or something like that where they just talked about like the breakdown of everything, and they said basically like you can see how every character is traumatized in some way, either by their own actions or somebody else's, and they're just imperfect people that are dealing with the ramifications of their imperfections. And
I mean, go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, just basically like if you look at Juliet, she's an alcoholic who oversteps professional boundaries.
It's Justine.
Or
Before
Justine. Justine, and then, or if you look at Archer, the dad, he's over obsessed. His marriage is falling apart, and he's isolating himself from his wife.
Kind of
getting,
seems
like,
like an old
hyper-focused.
war vet too.
Yeah, and then like
He
Paul's
seems
an
like
alcoholic.
one of those guys that he's like, this is something I can solve, and if I can solve this one problem, everything will come back together. You know,
like any dude would, or most dudes would probably think in that situation, like if I can find my son, we'll fix everything else. And then like even with Paul as the cop, he's just a douche. He's a huge douche.
Also a germaphobe, which I thought was kind of funny. Like it plays into the whole story, but he's just like, "What did you do?" Like,
I don't know if it's germaphobe as much as he's just worried about. I mean, I'd be terrified if I pricked anything on a druggie's needle.
Yeah,
like I'd be stressed. I'd be very stressed. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, kind of before we get into spoilers, David, what are some allegories I know people have been putting out there that this movie?
So the biggest one that I've heard is that the entire thing is kind of an allegory about a school shooting and how the sudden disappearance of children, especially the loss of that, its effect on a town, and how people fall apart even if it wasn't something they were related to. You know, it's blaming each other, it's looking for solutions, trying to figure out why, even though there's no real reason behind it. And from what I understand, I don't want to go into spoilers, but that's why the movie ends in the last like 30 seconds the way that it does, is because sometimes in life things just happen and loss is sudden.
Mm-hmm.
Which I could see it. I don't know if that's really what he was going for or not, or people are just attributing it to that, but I can see some of the parallels of that situation with the movie.
Well, and I've seen also people kind of comparing a lot of biblical references and allegories, especially with a lot of the names and what the characters do. And I was like, maybe. Also, the names aren't like super like crazy names, you know? So
the only one that I picked up on personally, because it kept coming up, I don't know if you guys picked up on this as well, there was a lot of references all over in different scenes to parasites.
100%.
Oh yeah. No, they kept like, because I think it was in a dream sequence, but then you would see it on like TVs or here and there.
Yeah, it was like on the board she was talking about, like, and I think that is a parallel to what was happening.
Yeah,
is I think a parasitic situation was what they were trying to allude to with that.
Mm-hmm.
I will say one of the speaking of allegories, one of the allegories I heard was basically how that human beings can be used as weapons against each other because the title's weapons, and whether it's your children, your behaviors, or even yourself, you're essentially a walking weapon that can be used to do good or do wrong depending on how you're essentially manipulated. So, I mean, I thought that was fairly decent, but I think honestly the biblical allegories, there are some there, but I was kind of surprised at how many, because like when I got out of the theater, I was like, they used a lot of biblical names like Matthew, Paul, James, all that stuff. And then what I forget what the scripture was, but it was there is a verse at 2:17. I forget the book though, but that talks about protecting children, and kind of ties in with the same theme of the movie in and of itself. And like what I saw too was that Zach Krieger made it specifically ambiguous to let anybody take out what they needed to from the movie.
The only thing that I didn't get, and I told Keegan this, I don't understand the dream sequence whatsoever when he got to the house after his kid ran in and there was just a giant gun in the sky with the 17 on it. That was the only, I was like, that lost me. I couldn't, because nothing else happened after that with it. Like,
yeah, I thought the movie would get bonkers at that point. I was just like, what is going on?
Yeah, that's the only thing. even looking at it now, like like I have no idea. Maybe I'm just dumb. If anybody out there understood it, please let me know what you got from that. But it did not add anything to me except, wow, that's a fucked up dream. That's
To me, the only thing I could have thought of was maybe he was a war vet, and so he was just dealing with some and that was the only.
But that doesn't make any sense. Why it'd just be a gun and why it had the 217 on it, you know? Because it was the clock, and then it like
It was the
turned.
alarm clock, but it was like a UFO sized gun.
Yeah, the gun was bigger than the house.
Yeah. And I was just like, all right, this just became Nope in all the wrong ways. But you know.
Yeah, that it just, I was like, what?
Yeah. Well, I think that, wraps up our non-spoiler stuff. Grayson, Dave, rating recommendation for anyone that wants to leave. What would you say?
Honestly, I'll say 10 out of 10. Like, it's not, a horror movie. As David said, it's more of a thriller. But it's so well crafted that you just get sucked into this movie. Like, you can't help yourself but just like feel everything that this movie is trying to make you feel, and just enjoy the ride as it goes along.
Yeah, I agree. Very well done. Great piece of cinema. I'd probably go 8.5, just because again, it's still not exactly my genre, but it's done so well that didn't really matter to me. I probably wouldn't go see it again though. I mean, I will probably watch it again, like on streaming or something eventually, but like I wouldn't buy a ticket to after I left, I wasn't like, damn, I got to see it again, like as soon as I can. And that's kind of my needed for like 10 out of 10s, but it was still extremely well done. Great story. Everything came together. There was a couple of flaws, which we'll go over in the spoiler part, but nothing so much that it took away from the movie, in my opinion. So definitely a very strong 8.5. I might even give it a 9 on a good day. I highly recommend it. Even if you're not going because you don't enjoy horror movies, throw that out. It's nothing like, there's not really any jump scares. There's not really, any like spooky stuff. There's a little bit of gore, but not so much that it's not done in like a scary way necessarily, more like a brutal way.
And it's not overdone in the brutal way like Midsommar.
Right. It could be worse. Things that happen, you could see a lot worse.
Yeah.
So no matter who you are, I mean, definitely I wouldn't take kids to this movie just because it's not really the right kind of thing for them. But anybody who enjoys cinema, movies at all, you will probably enjoy this at least once. And honestly, I think it benefits from seeing it on a large screen with people around you, because the audience reactions were pretty good in my theater, at least. Definitely added to it for me. It's definitely a solid movie. It is not a waste of your time, and it's kind of a great way to kind of ramp up going into Halloween season. So yeah, 8.5 or 9 out of 10. I'd say definitely go see it.
Yeah, I would be on the same page right now. 8.5. I don't see that rating going down. I could see me rewatching it and the rating going up, just because it feels like the movie you rewatch multiple times and you see different things and you start to enjoy it more.
And this feels like one that probably has things you would catch on a second viewing when you already know the story.
Yeah, where you might pick up on little details here and there. The cast is excellent. It is led by pretty much Julia Garner and Josh Brolin, who are two actors I really enjoy watching anyway. But
dude, parts of this movie, I was just like, I can't believe this is the Silver Surfer.
Right.
Like having just seen her as that, like it's so drastically different. Like she's becoming one of my top actresses. Like,
well,
did y'all see her in?
Talked about her in.
I know we're Julia Sims, dude.
I'm fine with that. I'll take that title all day.
I don't know if y'all saw what was it, Becoming Anna or whatever, the Netflix series where she was playing that girl that like hoodwinked everybody into giving her like millions of dollars. Again, the acting, she's a phenomenal in that. You couldn't even tell that it was her that's in this movie versus that one. It seems like two different women. Like, it's crazy.
Oh yeah, her in here is even different than her character in Wolfman. I mean, obviously very much different than Silver Surfer, but as far as like two kind of normal people in horror movies, vastly different. Brolin is different than most of the characters, though.
He did snap at one point and half those kids disappeared.
They did. It is about missing people. I will say, watching it, it did make me want to go rewatch No Country for Old Men, but I also really enjoy that film. It's really a fantastic one. But everything is well done. It's not just pure horror, it's thriller, it's drama, it's mystery, with some comedy as well.
If anything, horror is one of the lesser genres I would put it in.
Yeah, and I would say the horror aspect is done well.
Yeah.
We'll get to it, but that's our non-spoiler portion. So if you guys
Yes,
don't want
if
to
you
be
haven't seen
spoiled-
the movie yet, get out of here. You owe it to yourself to see this movie and not know what's happening.
well,
100%.
a couple people just left, so that's good. Maybe not good for the views, but at least now they can go enjoy it, non-spoilers. All right, so spoiler time. Grayson, why don't you kick us off?
What do you want me to do? You want me to go into just spoilers in general, or what do you want to do?
Whatever you want to talk about.
Let's talk about the midpoint of the movie where they go through Archer's storyline and he meets up with Juliet at the gas station. And all of a sudden, here comes fucking Marcus Naruto running all the way up to her to attack her. What a wild left turn out of nowhere. I didn't see that coming. It was insane.
Well,
I love
because
even
of
more that in the middle of the attack, they then switch point of views and go back.
Yeah. Well, and like for me, I thought she was the only one seeing him because she had the like dream sequence earlier. So I didn't think it was actually happening until like he pushed away Archer, and you're like, "Oh no, this is actually happening. It's a real zombie."
I mean, just all. I mean, I had something built up. Never mind. You guys go. I'll catch up here in a second.
Since we're doing spoilers, I will say, since we just kind of talked about this, I understand why it's classified as a horror movie because it ends up being a supernatural occurrence.
Yeah.
There's not really, you can't really just say thriller once you've put in the witchcraft and everything. Like, it is a horror movie because of the elements in it and what ultimately was happening. So I get why it needed to be there in the end. But until we found out that it was the witch doing all this and like controlling people, making them into zombies, basically, it was like 100% a thriller up until that point, I would say.
I
Yeah,
will
the
say
concept
outside
was
of the
right.
witch and Marcus as well. I would say those two sequences, the makeup in and of itself and like the practical effects.
Oh, so good. So
wild.
good.
Like just him headbutting his husband to death.
Dude, that was
insane.
insane.
After puking
Just
like
the
just
sludge
black
and-
ooze. Yeah.
And I will say, like, you could kind of tell that there was something supernatural going on, but them leaning fully into like witchcraft overall I was surprised that they did it like tastefully without making it like cartoonish in aesthetic, you know what I mean? Where it was subtle enough to still be horrific in a way.
And I kind of like and dislike, I guess, but I kind of like that it's never really explained to us.
Yeah.
Like who she is really, how long she's been doing this, what is the rules of it, because we never even really see her doing anything with the kids. Like it's alluded to that she's sucking out the life force, I guess, but
Yeah, 'cause the parents don't return
we
to
never
normal.
no, that is some, like, I don't know how I feel about that. I kind of thought that once she was gone, the spells would break on everybody, and apparently
guess
that's
they
not
were
what
just-
happened.
Yeah, I guess they were just under the spell too long, and they're older than the kids, so it's harder for them to come out of it.
Yeah.
To me, I've seen the movie Tangled, where the witch obviously is feeding off of life force, and I was like, it's kind of similar in a way, like a more horror version of that.
It's not her life force though. Entangled, it's the magic of
The
flower.
magic of the flower that's in
It has
her.
not. Yeah, it doesn't take
Yeah.
anything out of Rapunzel, but in this one, I think she's literally taking
It's
some
like
of
a
the
leech.
vitality of the kids.
Yeah, she's like leeching.
She's basically being a parasite.
Yeah,
And that's what I think is like, it's all talking about her. But so the ending, besides the wild stuff, but the very end when all the kids are there and he's like taking his son back, and the voiceover is just like, some of them have started talking, thing. And then it just like ends. Supposedly that's the strongest part of it being a school shooting, is people get fucked up from something like that, and it's a long time to recover, and some people never do. Is apparently ties that in.
You bring that up just as that point. I didn't pick up on that in the theater, but with that, like the idea of like the parents never recovering, a lot of the kids never recovering or even returning in any way, shape, or form, I can see that for sure.
Yeah,
Like,
it's supposed to be like a traumatic event leaves ripples that last potentially forever. Is supposed to be the kind of allegory to the shooting scenario.
I will say, like, I think even what people, or it was 17, it was 19 kids in the class, right? And then only 17
18.
disappeared.
18 and 17 went missing.
And so the 2 that survived, so it's 2 people that did not do anything, and then 17 that went missing. In other words, 217. I think that's kind of what they built on as well, at least to kind of make the deeper connection between that overall numerology. Just
2 out of 17. Yeah, I like that.
2 out of 17. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also like I definitely understand the school shooting aspect of it, like the teacher feeling guilty and being blamed potentially for events that had nothing to do with her, but it's like, why didn't you stop this? Why, I could see that. Like if a teacher lived in a school shooting in the classroom, but all the kids died except her and one, parents would definitely be like, why were you saved?
Well, and
Why,
speaking of only one, with Alex being like the only one, and how his character is built up in his storytelling, where he's like being bullied and kind of the outcast, I could see the allegory there as well.
Yeah. That's actually a good point.
That he could have been the one that did it. And he he knew what was going on though. Like I felt so bad for that kid though when his parents didn't come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, like, on top of that too, I think one of the other allegories that I wanted to bring up too, now that we're talking about that Gladys actually showing up, I think one other thing that could be brought up too is like dealing with, a family member that is unwell, how much that just drains you and takes everything out of you, having to deal with it. And it just leaves you a husk of yourself.
Especially if it's a family member that you weren't close to, but it's like familial devotion that you have to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And here Gladys is supposedly having cancer, and so they feel the need to bring her in and take care of her.
I think she genuinely had an illness.
Yeah, and that's why she had to
and then she was using them to stave it off.
Well, did you guys see the theory that like she was just using witchcraft to basically just find her way into this family's house, and they're not even related at all, like giving them.
That's what I thought too. That it was going to turn out that she didn't even know them. That it was just I don't know. I could see it.
I thought that was gonna I thought there was a whole reveal part that was coming up at the end, and then all of a sudden it's just kids curb stomping the shit out of this witch.
Dude, people in my theater lost their shit when those kids were chasing her down. They were laughing so hard when the kids are like linebackering through the windows and everything, and she's just like screaming for her life.
And just that part where the dude's like mowing his lawn, and you just see her like run through, and then like 5 seconds later, there's just a horde of kids.
And I love when Archer is like going through everything trying to find them, just following the trail of destruction. And when he's in the house, and the woman's like, "Oh, there's a man here now."
There's a man in the living
room. I will say that definitely felt very Wildest Kids That was pretty actually kind of funny.
Yeah, like that last 10 minutes was just chaos.
100%. I will say, like, let's talk about James a little bit. That entire story arc was fucking bananas.
Yeah, I didn't think he was going to be a major character at all, and then it was like James. I'm like, what? Like,
yeah, no, like just that whole arc, just hinging on some crackhead trying to just get a score, and then all of a sudden finding a whole bunch of missing kids. Wild, out of left field, wild.
Well, it's wild when it ties it back to that's why he was going to the police station, and Paul just like freaks out on him.
100%. Like I will say, never mind. Let's talk about. I'm jumping all over the place.
That's fine. The movie kind of jumped all over the place.
We'll just come back like the movie did.
I'm kind of what I do want to say is like that that scene where like Gladys is building up the horror in James and he's in his tent, and then I always have like I don't want to say just dirty stuff like that where the guy stabs Paul in the face with the needles. It got me so bad. I'm like, oh god.
Yeah.
Just because, dude, just
when he was when he just like oof
through the tent.
No. The heebie-jeebies were had, and that I fucking hated that scene so fucking much.
Yeah, I like you said, I did not expect him to be as main a character that he would actually get his own segment. But after I saw it, it was kind of the crucial one. It's kind of what brought it all together.
Yeah, leave it to the guy getting.
And it was spooky when he crashed into the basement and all the kids are just standing there.
Mm-hmm. Or like when he's out in the forest and she's just like waving at him.
I feel like all of those people should have looked way more malnourished for only having soup for God knows how long.
Chicken noodle soup too.
And nobody was like, why does this kid keep coming and buying all this soup?
On it, one part that I thought was funny about James's sequence was when he brings in like the tablet and iPod that he stole, and the guy's like, I don't want it. 50, 20, 10. No, I don't want it.
That was really great. He's just like,
It's really good. The actor kind of reminded me of like a James Franco, and I don't know.
He did Pineapple Express.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I was like, a couple, like maybe 10 years ago, this would have been a Franco played character. I'm trying to think what else happened in his section. I don't know, just going back, I guess, kind of to him, but like when Paul just knocked him out, like I did not expect that. When he was just like, his finger got poked and he was like, I was just like, wow.
Yeah. And then he was all worried that he was going to get like police brutality. And James clearly didn't even think about that. Like he didn't even think I could get some money off this. No,
he was just like
glad I got away from the cops.
Yeah. Well, Paul. Okay, so let's get into Paul because we kind of hinted at that storyline. It's his wife or girlfriend that
I think it's his fiance
that attacks Justine and the
yeah. I kind of wanted more backstory on him and Justine.
Yeah, I thought that was going to go further, and then he just gets shot in the face, and I was like, well, I guess that's over.
So yeah, he and James are dead, right? Like they're dead.
Oh yeah,
they died in the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the only way they'd stop attacking Justine and Archer was if they actually died. Or they
That's another question I have, and I don't think we needed it in the movie, but I was left very curious of like, how was all of this going to be excused of what happened? From him at the gas station dying, his husband being headbutted to death at the house, and then these random deaths at this other house, like
plus the old lady getting ripped apart in a
like I wonder, yeah, how did they not pin this on Justine and Archer, you know?
Yeah, especially because the town itself was already like so hyped up at her anyway.
I get why they open it by saying it was a cover up.
Because it was.
Yeah, because I mean, what else are you gonna do in that situation? If you were the cops, like it's so fucking weird. And you're like, you know what? The kids are back. We're just, it was these two crazy people that are in a mental institution now. Write it up. We're done. Because honestly, they probably blamed Alex's parents.
I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, they could have just blamed Paul and James.
I mean, that too. Like, or said it was all four of them, or something like that. Or no, because that would make a cop look bad. So they probably said Paul tried to stop it and they killed him.
Mm-hmm.
Like died in the line of duty, or something like that. And
I don't know. The police captain was his fiance's dad, so he might have just been like, "Yeah, who cares?" Like,
but it would still make the station look bad,
I guess. Yeah.
And then, my daughter was dating this guy that kidnapped all the kids for this long.
Yeah.
But so tell me this: did you guys expect it to go in that direction?
Absolutely not. I thought there would be like something, pulling like. I will say when they did when the title flashed across the screen and they had the triangle in there, I'm like, so we're going to be doing something like supernatural, like demons or hauntings or something like that, right? And then it turned out to be just a witch using her tree. I did not expect that in any way, shape, or form.
I thought it was going to be something supernatural, like spirits wise.
Yeah,
I
Like
thought
an
it was going to
entity.
be like radio signals because they kept showing the
The tower.
antenna tower. Yeah, and I was
Yeah.
like, okay, so and they were all running kind of in that direction, so I was like, okay, something weird's going on. Up
Yeah,
until like
my
where everything
two,
was papered up on Alex's parents' windows, I was like,
because I also thought it could have been something like somebody experimenting on kids or something, and like you said, it used the signals to get them there to do whatever. But I did not expect it to literally be a witch story.
yeah, to the point like she's even doing like magic potion, and it has like the like scene. Like I was like, this is like not where I thought it was gonna go. Like it feels like an old timey like Hansel and Gretel fairy
Yeah,
tale.
almost like, oh, you came into the gingerbread house. Now I got to eat you.
Yeah, where they were actually kind of dark and actually scary back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way.
And yeah, I love
mean,
the kids destroying her at the end was amazing.
it's
Yeah.
still just funny to watch, like that. Thinking back about that sequence with the little girl just crashing through the windows and the doors, like catching up to her, like right at the very last stretch. So fucking absurd. It's so
Just full
stupid.
body tackling her. Just
Exactly. Just and then you just see the swarm coming. You're like, God damn.
and they ripped her to pieces.
Just head.
Head off, leg, arms were everywhere. Like,
And honestly, that was pretty spooky when he walked up and they're all just standing in a circle with the
Dude, when they
carnage.
turned to face, it was like, oh.
yeah, it looked like the zombies from or the vampire zombies, whatever they're supposed to be in the film of I Am Legend, where they're all just like huddled together.
Yeah,
That's what it kind of
yeah.
reminded me of. Yeah.
I will say the one part of like the last little bit that like just also just gave me just utter just chills was when Paul has Justine while he's in the trance up against the actual cupboards, and she just takes out the potato peeler and just starts going to town on his face. I was
So
like, ah!
something you'll appreciate. Apparently, when they did some of the like advanced screenings, one of you like they invited like press 2 and early previews and stuff. Everybody that went in got a weapons branded potato peeler before the movie as like their souvenir.
That's pretty good.
And I bet they got a big kick out of it once that happened in the movie.
But I mean, like, let's talk about that too. Like the action in this movie, even though it's not, a lot, I think it was really well choreographed and it was intense enough to make you feel desperate for those characters, in my opinion, anyway.
When it feels real.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like it was like they're forced to be weaker than they are or anything like that. It's like this is what would happen in a real world scenario. Like if witches existed, this is what would happen.
This is what they would do. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I hated that woman.
She was horrible.
After like seeing the extent of what she was doing, it was just like, God, I hate her.
Where she like made his parents just like stab themselves with a fork.
Yep, and manipulating everything, and like she was behind it on, just like you can't do anything about it. I was like, oh.
If anybody's had those type of relatives, you know just how bad having those like toxic, manipulative type of relatives in your life can be, and that definitely sucks the worst. It makes you feel like a lifeless husk, to be honest.
It definitely made me think in the movie. I was like, man, I ain't ever letting any relatives come stay with me that I don't like. No. Like if you're not close,
I've only seen you once. Nah, get out of here.
Oh, you got cancer? Oh, get the fuck out of here.
That sucks. Where can I pitch in for the hospice?
Also, like
or...
her when his parents like just bring her home and she has like this really weird looking tree that's like black and thorny and everything. I don't know. That feels like a tip off, like
They probably thought it was like a bonsai tree kind of thing though, like, oh, this is my piece, or I
don't know. I see that. I'd be like, get out. Like,
it wasn't for the tree. I mean, that wig should have been a big fat red flag. Bangs all the way up to the top of her crown. That's definitely something else right there, buddy.
Oh yeah. When she goes to the school and she's like all done up in makeup and stuff, I was like, wow.
I mean, from like the nightmare sequence, I thought it would be like something more like, as David brought out, like I thought this was like a haunting, like spirits or something. But when it was like an actual tangible person, that like made it that much more creepy to me just having somebody that's willing to put themselves physically out there looking like that.
And it's kind of her own like hubris that gets her caught at the end, because she's like, yeah, I'll be fine. But at the same time, she's been like projecting herself to everybody.
Which I don't get that. Why was she in the nightmares? Like, that's not keeping a low profile at all.
I think it's just hubris. Like, she was like, I've been doing this for so long. Because
Well, I
she
think, like-
mentioned consumption, and who uses that anymore? So that a lot of people are like, well, she's really old because that's how she was speaking.
She could have been around for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
I mean, to that point, like if you look at her wardrobe, like it's age. Like when she's at the family's house, she's in like a old 50s style get up, like, you know, brooches, pantsuit, whole 9 yards, and then she's going out to like Alex's school in like tracksuits from the 80s and the 90s, and just wearing glasses and everything from just different, like all of her outfits are from different decades as the movie progresses. If you notice, like if you pick up on that kind of stuff, you notice like the little nuances in like the type of stuff that she wears.
Yeah.
Well, and she wears very different things, like when she's at the house, where it's just versus
She
like
doesn't
her
get all
public
made up.
persona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and just the makeup work where he like looks in and she's just like laying there on the bed staring at him, like, whew, terrifying. Grayson, any other characters you want to touch upon while we're here?
I mean, in all honesty, I think Marcus is a little, you know, overshown. I think he is one of the more tragic victims of the overall story, just because he was trying to do what he thought was right, but he got caught up in a twisted game of essentially hide and seek, and he paid the ultimate price. And then, like that scene where he gets just taken out by that car, fucking wild. Running across the street, just head gone. All, like it was, that was wild. But it's out of everything else, I think for the most part, we talked about or that's my only character that I bring up a little bit extra on.
David, any other characters you want to mention a little bit more on?
I do like Justine as the main character. I think it was a good job of having a relatable, sympathetic main character, but who was still deeply flawed.
Mm-hmm.
Like they weren't afraid to make, like Grayson's pointed out, they were all still very human, and you could be like, oh, that's somebody I recognize. Like I could see that existing. And they did a really good job of the different point of views, I think, showing truly who that person was and how they intermingle with the other ones. And I like that she and Archer both made it all the way through the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he got possessed at the end, I was like, damn it.
I know, I was worried. I mean, I knew she wasn't going to die. Like, at that point, you couldn't kill her.
Yeah, at that point, somebody had to come out alive, but I was like, man, Josh Brolin, another movie he doesn't make it through.
I do wonder, did they ever say who was knocking at her door?
I think it was inferred that it was Josh Brolin. Like it wasn't, you know, specified, but I think it was.
And then he like ran away.
Well, it was him doing the paint and stuff.
I know he did the paint, so I don't think he's the one who knocked.
It could have been the witch.
I could see.
But why?
Well, I think like if you look at it like the way, like kind of like the Pied Piper like tale, which is obviously a huge influence on this too. She's trying to draw people out to like basically because she has to get like lumps of their hair to like make them or anything that they have to put a
personal item, right? I do know that was another moment that everybody in my theater really thought was hilarious when she's sleeping in the car and the like mother just like and like and like stops at the car and just like stares at her and she's just dead asleep. Like people liked that a lot.
And she didn't lock her car doors. Like, what are you doing? Come on.
That was wild. I will say, like, I'm glad that, like, as flawed as Justine is, they didn't like try to justify any of like her actions, like her following kids after school. It's weird. You shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be trying to get in touch with kids that don't want to talk to you after school. It's weird.
Yeah, honestly, if I was that teacher, I had nothing to do with what happened, and people were trying to blame me. Like, I would have moved.
Yeah,
I would have gotten away from it and been like, nope. Especially if I didn't have a family there, I got no reason to stick around.
one thing that I do want to mention, just on the subject of like final thoughts, is that scene where Archer goes to the police station and he's talking to the police chief, and like the police chief just goes, "What do you want us to do? We've investigated her story. We've looked her up and down. We've researched her background. What else can we do? We're just the police. There's nothing else we can do. We'll keep researching. We'll keep looking. But what is it that we can do for you to make you feel
Like,
more?
what are you here asking me to do? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I thought, just like on the subject of like humanity in real life, like that is a real conversation that would happen in a police station with a grieving parent that's trying to find their kid. Like, it's, look, dude, I understand you have your suspicions, but we've checked everything. There's not much else we can legally do as the police. What is it you want from us? Because we're stuck in just as a crappy situation as you are in this scenario. What do you want from us? And then like the little sub conversations where they're like, where they talk about how, like, if you pick up on it, like through Paul's vignette, like, does he think he's the only parent who lost kids? Like, we're doing what we can. There's not much else that we can do on this.
Speaking of which, what a random Justin Long appearance.
Right. Well, see, like, I was honestly sitting there and I'm like halfway through the movie, I'm like, I wonder if Justin Long is going to show up because of Barbarians. And all of a sudden he pops out of the Prius and I'm like, oh, what do you know?
Hey, he had to show the other footage. I'm surprised more parents didn't have camera footage.
I'm surprised the police didn't put that together, especially using Ring cameras as.
I mean, honestly, I'm a little surprised that there wasn't more parents investigating.
Right.
Like that there wasn't like a group of them that were meeting, weekly or something. Maybe not all of them, because some would be like, it's too painful to discuss. I just want to move on. Like, I get that. But there had to be more than Archer that were basically devoting their lives to finding out what happened.
Yeah, there should be like little like watch groups and people going around neighborhoods.
Like a support group that had kind of grown into, we're not going to give up on our kids. Let's find out what happened. I feel like that could have been a bigger element, but I guess they didn't want to, because if they bring in two more people, like too many more, it would have fallen apart with what they went with. But I feel like realistically, there would have been a few more parents completely just like him wanting to work together to discover what happened and willing to do whatever it takes to get to the, figure out where their kids are.
Well, just looking at the PTA scene, like when she gets a phone call from some random woman about how like her time's coming up, like it kind of built up on the idea there would be more people involving themselves in that kind of investigation or putting themselves in a position to antagonize Justine, which I thought was building up to as well. So
was that before or after she slept with Paul?
Before. It wasn't the fiance, if that's what you're thinking.
Okay. Yeah, no. Well, I didn't think about that at all until because
she got that call the night before he painted witch on her car.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Also, ironic that that's the word he went with, considering what happened.
Yeah, they were right. It was a witch. All right. So, what about like the horror aspects, Grayson? How did they use horror in this film?
It was definitely like, it was esoteric. It was ethereal. It was something that is like, it was body horror. It was, just an unstoppable force taking control of you that you can't fight no matter what you do. It was very up my alley. I think they did it very well because like it could either have gone one of two ways, right? It could have been very corny in the way they executed it. And like the actual choreography and the action, like the ritual could have been like over dramatic and overplayed, but it's very subtle. It's very like if you look at any of those old traditions or any of those old practices, they're very subtle in the way they do it. And it felt more realistic, letting, the actual horror of the situation be not, the ritual, but the fact that you're losing agency to somebody who wants to use you for their own means. And I thought that did that very well. And to play on the parasite idea is you'd like if a parasite takes a hold of your body, you can't control when it happens. It just gets in, takes over, and you're no longer controlling your body. It controls you. Like even like thinking about like with Marcus when they're watching that nature documentary on the ants and the cordyceps, like that's literally the entire process of that parasite is it infests the ant and takes over its body to then spread out its disease, which she kind of does because now she's trying to go kill Justine, right? So, I mean, it just the overall layers and like the communication of like the themes in this movie are very well done and very well crafted, especially like just building up the, as I already said, just the loss of agency is a huge point in horror for a reason, right? Because losing control of yourself to do what somebody else wants, that's horrific as hell.
Well, and I think the jump scare in this one, where the witch is like on the ceiling, but it's done so well. Like people actually jumped in my theater because like she looks out and it's all slow. So like in your mind, you're like, okay, someone's gonna be out there. And you're like, nope, nothing's out there. And it focuses on her laying back down. So you think just gonna focus on her, and then it just cuts to the ceiling, and you're like, what was that? Like, because that was before we really do everything. But you're like, what is that thing?
When Josh Brolin wakes up and says, "What the fuck?" Everybody in my theater was dying.
Yeah, another laughing point.
Because we were all thinking the same thing.
Yeah, because what was his? She was like in the bed, right? Yeah, where he thought
Well,
it
no,
was.
she was the ceiling one where he looks up, like he's looking at his son, and then he looks up, and she's on the ceiling, and then he bolts awake and goes, "What the fuck?"
Oh, I thought he.
The ceiling was Justine.
Yeah.
Was the ceiling just named?
Yeah. And she's like, ah, like out of the ceiling.
Yeah,
No, when
the
his
wood.
no,
was-
she wakes up when like the kid, like when Alex has the smile on his face, she wakes up, and then Archer's like in his son's bedroom. He sees his body like in the blankets, and he's like, "I found you. I love you so much." No, 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 no. Then he looks up at his ceiling, and then she's
No,
right
no,
there.
that's when the body turns over and it's her instead of his son.
Yeah.
And he like
'Cause
jumps
he's
back
like-
and then he wakes up.
Yeah, she's under like covers, like smiling, because Justine wakes up after the dream with the kids, right? And that's when she like looks out at the door, and then she lays back down, and the thing's on the ceiling.
Yeah. Justine's is the ceiling, his is the kid's body, and then the druggies is in the woods.
Yeah, which was
You
so
might be right.
he wasn't even asleep. Was it the drugs, or was she actually projecting herself?
I think she was that's the only thing that I'm not really sure about. Like the dream stuff didn't make any sense. It didn't need to be happening. If anything, it was drawing attention to her for no reason. If I was her, if I was trying to get away with this, I would have taken over somebody like Justine and have her just straight up like kill a kid in public.
Well, see,
And
the
it
way
all be
I
blamed
saw
on
that
her.
was is like that's just like her bait to get them to come out to expose themselves so she can get control over them, or use her minions to kill her
Yeah.
or kill them to prevent her from getting leaked. But that's just a theory, game theory.
Well, Grayson, it's not this channel.
Sorry to bring it up.
David, any themes or like just genres you want to talk about that this movie did, or?
No, I think it was a great blend of thriller, drama, comedy, horror. They did a good job. At the heart, it was a good, solid story, and I think that that's what's essential for any movie, regardless of genre. So they nailed it with a great script, and director masterfully put it together. Did some great casting, and I think it succeeded. And I'm excited to see what he does next. And I hope they never make another movie in this universe, because this doesn't need a sequel, prequel, anything like that. Move on to something else. Sorry, it can be in this universe, but it doesn't need to touch on anything involving weapons. Do you know what I mean? We don't need any direct this story. I guess maybe if you wanted to do something like Justine moves away and this is like 5 years later and she's involved in some other weird incident, maybe, that's about the most I would accept. But honestly, I think this is fine in its own contained bubble. Move on.
Maybe she did move away. She got married, had a daughter. They went to the forest. Her husband became a werewolf.
Made a horrible movie, and now we're here.
I mean, yeah, that one was not as good as this film by any means.
I was about to say, why do you say that as if it was almost? That movie was fucking dog shit, dude.
I wouldn't say that.
Grayson would.
Grayson is out of here. Well, while we wait for Grayson to come back on, David, what do you think we will be talking about in September? I think Conjuring comes out. I'm not sure what else does, but I know.
I think we did say Conjuring was probably the next one, but that was when we were doing Freakier Friday, so I don't know if we want to do two similar, but it is getting close to that Halloween season.
And Conjuring's a big topic. I mean, we've seen the Conjuring Museum get back in the news. The Conjuring house itself was in the news.
Yes. So we do have. I know a trailer that we actually had in this was Him. I know that's coming out. The football horror movie. Did you see that with Jordan Peele?
I did not have that trailer in mind.
Yeah, it's
Grayson's
crazy.
here, I think.
This one comes out.
Yeah, I'm here. My camera's just not working.
September 19th. Did you get this trailer in your screening, Grayson, for Him, the football horror movie?
I got the teaser. I didn't get the full trailer.
Yeah, we got the full trailer in mind. That it's pretty crazy. It Marion Wayans is like the bad guy of the Wayans brothers, and it's pretty intense. It basically it takes like a new guy getting drafted like high up going into the NFL, and it's like a horror spin on it. So that looks crazy. Conjuring, of course, is Conjuring, and this could be the last one. I think it's the last one of the Warrens in it.
I mean, with how good that trailer was, I'd be down if we did that for September. It looks like it could
Conjuring?
be good enough. Yeah, The Conjuring.
I don't know. I feel like they shoved way too many jump scares into the trailer for me personally.
Fair enough.
Like there wasn't a lot of substance, but I mean, I'll probably still see it. Spinal Tap 2. This one goes to 11. Aztec Batman, whatever the hell that is. And that's about it, unless we want to do a deep dive on something that's getting an anniversary like Apollo 13 or Toy Story.
Oh, I mean, I'm good with Conjuring.
Those are both coming back out. So yeah, I mean, we could take a look at it, but I think the safe bet's probably Conjuring, but we better know for a fact what it is so that Nick shows his bum ass back up for the next one.
Nick, where are you? But yeah, we'll be back in September, maybe about a month from now, talking Conjuring.
Whoa, hold on. I gotta check this just to make sure. Okay. I thought it was next month. It's not till next year. But apparently Air Bud Returns is coming to theaters.
That's got my vote.
This is even listen to this. I have to read this to you. This is the synopsis. In Air Bud Returns, 12-year-old Jacob has always dreamt of being a star basketball player. After the passing of his father, that dream felt even more impossible. But everything changes when he and his mom move into his dad's childhood home in Fernfield. There, Jacob discovers an original VHS of the Air Bud movie in his father's belongings and has a chance meeting of a neglected golden retriever he names Buddy. So he literally finds the Air Bud movie and then finds a dog and is like, you could do that.
You will be Air Bud. Well, if you guys want to see us talk about that in a year, let us know. We got a lot of time to prepare. But yeah, we'll be back in a couple of weeks. We're doing our fantasy football draft live, so you guys can watch all the shenanigans.
I think we got some Wizard of Oz coming up soon too.
Yeah, we will be back talking Wizard of Oz at some point here. Hopefully, we got one filmed here this month. And I know we got Grayson, your book pick, right? What's your book pick?
Well, just to lead into it, I forgot the quote that I was going to use. But anyway, Starship Troopers is the pick for the next month. So if you all want to read along and talk about it with us at the beginning of next month, please do. We'd love to have you there. We'd love to see you there.
You still have plenty of time.
But just remember, nobody wants to live forever, you filthy apes. So that's like the opening line in the book. So anyway,
it makes more sense if you guys, once you read it and some of the descriptions of what things are, it makes a lot more sense why it's apes. But
get your damn hands off me, you damn dirty ape.
No, that's Planet of the Apes.
Isn't that what we're... Wait, that's what I'm reading.
I mean, we can do both. That's fine. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. I already bought tickets for this one. I have plans.
Yeah, so if you guys want, we'll be doing that. I know David and us have worked on some stuff for another thing, another project, and Grayson has an idea for a project. So once those are out, we will let you guys know. Just stay tuned.